Okay, so section 3.2 is about properties of parallel lines. We're going to be using some of those same things we used in the last section, 3.1. We're going to be talking about corresponding angles. We're going to be talking about alternate interior angles, same side interior angles, and alternate exterior angles. But the difference is this time we're going to be talking about them with parallel lines. Okay, so let's just talk really fast about how you know if something is lines are parallel. So you can't just look at lines and say, oh, those look like they're parallel, so they're parallel. No, there's actually two different ways to see it. The most common way is they're going to put little arrows on it like that, and that's one way you can see that they're parallel. Or they might use a notation that says A is parallel to B. So the next few things I'm going to talk about works only if the lines are parallel. So if the lines are parallel, corresponding angles are congruent. Sweet. So if you have corresponding angles, they are congruent. And the reason is the corresponding angles postulate. They name that one the postulate. Okay, alternate interior angles are also congruent, and for some reason they call that a theorem. So alternate interior angles theorem. If you put postulate or theorem in the wrong place, I would still give you credit. Just try to get them correct. Okay, the next one, same side interior angles are supplementary. So this one is the different one. And so that means they equal 180. So it'll be two angles that equal 180. And then the last one is the alternate exterior, so opposite outside. They are also congruent. And the reason is because of the theorem. Okay, so on this first one, we're going to find a way to justify the measure of angle 5. So, yes, they are, so this angle and this angle are alternate interior, so they should be congruent, but they do go about it a little bit different way, and that's okay. We'll just work it out. So we're going to fill out the right side of this little proof, and it says that the measure of angle 7 equals 55. Well, look at that 55-degree angle and look at that measure of angle, or the angle 7. What is the relationship between those two? Well, they are corresponding. So that would be the corresponding angles postulate. Okay, the next one is the measure of angle 5, and we said this one was 55. The measure of angle 5 must be 55. Why? I'm reading the wrong part. The measure of angle 5 equals the measure of angle 7. So why is 5 and 7, why are they congruent or equal? Well, that's because they're vertical angles. So that would be the vertical angles theorem that we talked about before. Okay, and the last one, there's two different answers you could put here. You could either say substitution, where you would just take this value, because angle 7 is 55, and plug it in right there. You could say substitution, or you could say transitive. So measure of angle 7, measure of angle 5. So as you can see, that would be transitive. So angle 5 equals 55. Doesn't matter, transitive or substitution. I'm just going to say substitution. But I would take either answer. Okay, next one, next proof. Okay, so given line A is parallel to line B, good. And then we're trying to prove 1 and 7 are congruent. So this proof is a little, I don't agree with a lot of it, because I would automatically just say, okay, if I'm trying to prove that 1 and 7, I would say that the lines are parallel is the first, the given. The second step would be 1 is congruent to 7 because of the alternate exterior angles theorem. Done. two-step proof. They give you 7 steps, and we're just going to follow along because that's what the problem is asking us to do. So let's do it. So we've got, let me erase this. So first we start with the given. So they tell us line A is parallel to B. So let's write that. A is parallel to B. Okay, the second step is if lines are parallel, then corresponding angles are congruent. So what are the corresponding angles? Well, that would be angle 1 and angle 5 are the only set of corresponding angles on there. So we would say angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. This next part I disagree with because they're doing a step that's not productive, but we're just going to fill it out and not complain. So congruent angles have equal measure. So those angles are congruent, so their measurement of angle 1 must equal the measurement of angle 5. Okay. Step 4, vertical angles are congruent. So let's talk about, there's only one set of vertical angles listed, and that would be 5 and 7. So we're going to say angle 5 is congruent to angle 7. Next step, step 5, congruent angles have equal measure. So that's just like step 3. So we're going to say the measure of angle 5 equals the measure of angle 7. Okay, so the reason why I say that steps 3 and 5 are not necessary because we're trying to get to congruent angles as our answer. So it's silly to me that we're going from congruent to equal back to congruent, but we're just going to do it. So now this next part, the transitive property, looks like right here we have angle 1, angle 7, and then there's 2 angle 5s. So in this case, the measure of angle 1 must equal the measure of angle 7 because of the transitive property. And then the last one is the last part I was talking about. Angles with equal measure are congruent. So that would be angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. And that's what they want us to get to. So we did it. That is it for that problem. Okay, the next page. We've got find the measure of angle 1, justify your answer, find the steps to finding measure of angle 1 are given below, justify each step. So we're given the reasons now. Before we get into this, I want to talk about this. So there's a lot of lines here. We have, it looks like 2 sets of parallel lines. So this makes 4 transversals. So here is the, that's not a highlighter. Here is the first step, okay? So there's that. There's one set of a transversal and its parallel lines. And here's another one. So you can see from there, there's some alternate interior, there's some corresponding. Those are 2 sets that you should view separately of each other. Okay, there's also 2 sets this way. There's one there. You can see 8 and 6 are corresponding, 1 and 2 are vertical, 1 and 4 are alternate interior, blah, blah, blah. There's a bunch of stuff to see. And the same thing, just see this one as its own separate thing, separate from the others. I know this is a lot of lines. I'm just trying to help you keep it straight in your mind. All right, so now let's go ahead and get started. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 4. So let's look at angle 1 and 4. What is the relationship between those? Because that's what it's wanting you to see. Well, angle 1 and 4 are alternate interior angles. So that would be, let's write that. So alternate interior angles theorem. Okay, then this is the one like from the last one. The measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 4. So that would just be the definition of congruent angles. Okay, the next one, step 3, 4 and 6 are supplementary. Well, why are they supplementary? Because they're next to each other on a line. Do you remember what that's called? It is called a linear pair. So that would be the definition of a linear pair. Okay. The next one, so angle 4 plus angle 6 equals 180. Well, that's just the definition of a supplementary angle, right? They equal 180. So the definition of supplementary angle. Or you could have said definition of a linear pair. Either way, again. Okay. Well, next one, line 5. This is when it starts getting a little tricky. So look what changed from line 4 to line 5. All that changed was this first term, right? Okay, so how did they get there? Well, it looks like up here they have an angle 4, the measure of angle 4. And right here they have measure of angle 1. So what did they do? Well, they just substituted. Since they already said angle 1 is equal to angle 4, wherever they saw angle 4, they just plugged in angle 1. So that would be substitution, property of equality. Okay, so now let's see what we got. Okay, so now we go to the measure of angle 5 equals 106. So measure of angle 5 equals 105, sorry. What is the relationship there between 5 and that 105 degree angle? Well, those are corresponding angles, so that's going to be our reason. The corresponding angles postulate. So the corresponding angles postulate. Okay, number 7, let's look at that. So that would be angle 6 is equal to 105. So what do you notice about between angle 6 and the 105? What kind of angles are those? Well, those are alternate interior, and they are congruent, so that works. So it would be alternate interior angles theorem. Okay, we're almost done. So angle 1 plus 105 equals 108. So what did they do? Look at the difference between line 5 and line 8. They're very similar with the exception of they had the measure of angle 6 there. Oops. And then here they have 105. Well, right up above that, we said that the measure of angle 6 equals 105. So what property is that? What did they do? They substituted. So that would be the substitution property of equality. All right, last step. What do they do to get angle 1 by itself? Just some good old-fashioned subtraction. So they subtracted 105 from both sides, so that would be the subtraction property of equality, and we are finished. Okay, so we're done with proofs for this lesson, but we're going to solve for x and y. So it'll be good to just do some good old-fashioned math. So when I'm doing these, and this is a trapezoid, by the way, and if you noticed, it has one set of parallel lines, so that's good. So when I'm doing these, I like to extend my lines because it helps me see it a little bit easier. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It just really helps me. Okay, so let's first start talking about our x's. How can we solve for x? So I just want you to look at this section right here. Don't pay any attention to the other one. What do you notice about those two angles, the 2x and the x minus 12? Well, they're interior angles, yes. And then they're also on the same side. And we do have a theorem for that. We just talked about it today. Same side interior angles. A lot of people want to say they're equal, but remember they're not. What are they? That's the one that's different. They are supplementary, so they add to be 180. So if I'm going to solve for x, I just need to set it up. So I will have 2x that's the first angle, plus the other angle, x minus 12 equals 180. And now I am ready to solve. So let's combine like terms. So that would give me 3x minus 12 equals 180. Then I would add 12 to both sides. And I would get switch colors. 3x equals 192. Then I would divide both sides by 3, and x equals 64. Sweet, we solved for x. Halfway done. Okay, the next one. Let's look at the other one. This transversal with the two parallel lines. Okay, so what do you notice about those angles? Well, they're also interior and they're also on the same side, so they're same side interior as well. So that means they're supplementary. So we can solve this just the same. So we will have 3y plus the other angle, y, plus 20. All of that equals 180. Okay, let's go ahead and solve. We're going to combine like terms. That would give me 4y plus 20 equals 180. Subtract 20 from both sides. 4y equals 160. Divide by 4, divide by 4. So y is 40. And we are finished. Okay, the next one. This one's a little tricky. That's all right. So what is the value of y? I want you to pause the video for a second and try to think of it on your own. Okay, hopefully you notice that this angle, these two angles together, and this angle, this 80-degree angle, they are same side interior angles. So those two angles together, not just one, the two angles together plus the other angle needs to equal 180. So let's just write our equation. We're ready to go. So we'll have 40 plus your other angle, y, plus that 80-degree angle equals 180. All right, combine like terms. You have y plus 120 equals 180. Minus 120. So y equals 60. So most of the time when you're solving these problems, it is just knowing your properties. So if you can memorize those properties, it will make your life so much easier that you don't have to think as hard and it comes a lot more natural. And that is it for section 3.2. Thanks for watching.